everybody. We are the Ding Ding TV Youth News Reporters, and my name is Alicia, and these are my partners, Angelina, Alex, and Aaron. Today we have the honor of interviewing Cupertino Poet Laureate, Miss Jing Yang. Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for being here. So, being a Cupertino Poet Laureate, you need some background in writing and poetry, so would you tell us a little bit about your background in writing?
Sure. It's my pleasure being here. Thank you, everyone. I was born in a family that is literature is a big part of it. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, every morning when I woke up, my dad started to recite a tongue poem. That's how I get to know poetry, even though I didn't know it's called poetry.
Mm-hmm.
But my dad was telling me that in Mandarin, 熟读唐诗300首，不会吟诗也会吟. It means that if you memorize about 300 poems, you will become a poet, naturally. So who knows what happened. When I was in college, I was majoring in Chinese literature and linguistic. And then I came to the United States. Literature was just far away, faded away, because I have to survive, I have to struggle as an immigrant until I sent my daughter to college. Then going back to write in both Chinese and English. Then I won the first place in poetry in Cupertino, the contest. And who knows, 2 years later I become poet laureate.
Yeah. Thank you so much for telling us a little bit about your backstory. And your poem, Logograph, won first place in 2017. And would you like to tell us a little bit how you got the idea for this poem and some of your other poems?
Sure. That poem actually was dedicated to my grandfather, and he was one of the most influential scholars in China. As a matter of fact, he was Mao's teacher, Chairman Mao. The two traveled together to Beijing to petition for someone who's a bad guy. Anyway, in his lifetime, he wrote about 40 books, and several times Mao invited him to Beijing, and every time he was in Hunan, he always come to see him. He's a workaholic, never played with the kids. Every day gets up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. It was stated in many memoirs from other scholars. He was one of those people who reads oracle. Do you know what oracle is? That is the ancient script written on top of turtle shells and cow's bones. On his deathbed, he said, the last word he said was, "I still have a lot of things not completed yet." So I never met him. He died in 1956. Is one of the Guozang. It's like a national burial, and Prime Minister, a lot of people write letters to him. People will get together on the road. It's like a parade to say goodbye. Those are the historical stories when I learned when I became an adult. Anyway, but somehow it becomes such an inspiration for me. And I think I was kind of in a mission that I think living in Cupertino, that high tech is such a great thing, such a visible, well-known thing in everywhere you go. But I don't see much of poetry going on in the city. And that was the first thing I saw. The first conversation I had with Claire, the lady who's in charge of Cupertino Library, I said, "Where's the poetry in the library?" So we worked together, and we made a lot of great things happen, especially for young people like you.
Thank you so much. That was really inspiring and fascinating. Now Aaron will be
Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Aaron.
Nice to meet you.
As a bilingual poet, is there a language that you prefer to write in? And do you tend to find yourself struggling with translations between the two?
That's a great question. It is very true. I'm struggling every day, every minute as a bilingual poet. I never thought I would become, my dream was to become a writer. So when I was in high school, I founded a poetry club. And then I didn't continue, I went to college. I didn't go study much, by the way, in this first 3 years. I did a lot of performance as a student. And I think in 1986, there were the first Xiaoxiang Mayflower poetry event. They need a student represents elementary school, middle, high school, and the college. And I went for it. So the audition, people give me a 2-page poem, say go prepare it. So after 5 minutes, I gave the paper to the person and I just recited. So most of my time was just performing other people's poems. But I think that's a great practice for Chinese. Not until 2015, I was starting to write in English. My daughter graduated from Mount Vista. I wrote a huge, long poem about turning 18, going to college. And then I went to Poet Laureate program. And I used to not have such confidence because I struggle for word for the vocabulary, but then I think the workshops gave me a lot of confidence. And practice makes perfect. And also winning the first place, then you just keep writing. And Western and Eastern culture has such a difference. You got to embrace the second language to have a deep connection and understanding with this culture. Therefore, I was determined to write in both languages, even though it's a challenge. It's a daily challenge for me, but you can do it.
Cool. Thank you. And would you have any advice, or what advice would you give to aspiring young poets?
Poetry is actually older than literature itself. It was written for singing in the very beginning, like a book of song, if you know Jing. And in Europe also, all this epic poetry of oral words for people to sing. So what I'm saying is, naturally, everybody's a poet. You just don't know it. If you think deep enough, and you compose those words together, you're a poet. Don't feel it's difficult. I have to be honest, it's a major arts, but it has very minor audience. But that's why I hope you and everybody here can write. Let your inner poet come out, and then make it major art and for major art audience. And also when I toured college with my daughter back in 2016, all this tier 1, Ivy League, all this college, universities, they don't like singulated kids to go to college, like you're a chemist, you're a physicist, but they also want you to learn world history, culture, and humanity. They want all the students to be all around. And if you're a good leader, you have to be good at speaking and writing to inspire other people. So my advice to you is, you are a poet already. Just keep writing.
And I'll pass it on to Alex for his question.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Alex.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, and my question was that since the Poet Laureate is a volunteer position, what motivated you to join and become the poet?
Okay. As I told you before, I said after I regret a lot of things when I was younger, when I was working, when I was away from parents, I was struggling to survive. I was also a single mom. And I went through all the layoffs, everything dark in a human being's lifetime. I think I've experienced all of it. To be where I am, I think poetry did a lot of things for me, through good and bad. For instance, when I first moved to California, there were 7 months I didn't have a job. I was looking all over the places, and I have a poem, a line on my bathroom mirror. It says, 天生我材必有用. Do you know who wrote this? 李白. So it's been, poetry to me is a friend, a soulmate, a confidant. They'll support me. And also another thing is when I went to interview, after interview I sent a thank you letter. I used the Emily Dickinson's hope is a thing as feathers. After I sent the email, I got the job. So poetry itself, it's not just words, it's my friend. They came up, they talked to me. Like after I read the Anne Frank's book, I wrote journal to Anne every day. They are humans. The poet came out from the past and talked to me and support me. So I think I was in a mission, my own lifetime experience itself just encouraged me to utilize this to spread out word, to voice out people who's voiceless. That's it. I think
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And my next question is, as a poet, what is your typical typical day like?
crazy. Like today, I'm almost late. I told Leanne was kind of worried. I usually don't rehearse, so everything comes natural. I love this live reaction because it comes from your soul, naturally come out. As a poet, I'm not really a disciplinarian. Every day is a challenge. I wake up, I water my flowers, walk my dog, and I also have a full-time job. As you know, I work every single day for free. I spend a lot more time for this payless position than my paid jobs because it's out of passion. You want to do it. You want. When I look at your face, that's my motivation. You're so young and you have insatiable curiosity in your eyes and so much energy. You want to learn. Those are my motivations. I want you guys to get the best of the world, history. All this poetry are the essence of human history and literature. And it's a rewarding for me. What else I want to say? Also, I've invited, through my dozens of workshops, I've invited the inmates from prison. He was a lawyer before he went to jail, but then he survived COVID-19. There were dead bodies just a few yards away from him. He survived all this. What support him? It's the writing. He didn't even have a pencil, but he found a way to write. There was a kid who has a disease, who couldn't read, but he became a poet and an artist. You know, all those magical things happening with the poetry, and people the words come out from their soul, and those words inspire not only you but me. Like I was reading the art window, the art wall. I was crying this morning. That's why I was late. I said that every day is crazy, but you know, I think Steve Jobs said that it's the people who's crazy enough to change the world. They do change the world. You gotta be take challenge, do what you want, and those crazy people are the ones who's really changing the world and actually rise above the darkness.
Ah, thank you so much for that. I do think passion is also very important. Now we'll move on to Angelina.
Hi, my name is Angelina. I've heard a lot about your work as a poet laureate, and I think what you do is wonderful. Now I apologize if this next part comes across as like a little bit insensitive, but the writing profession has a reputation to be a little bit financially unstable. So what are your thoughts on that?
Oh my God. When I was at your age, I never thought about money, and still I try not to think about it. My dad was telling me, this is from Confucius in Chinese. It's 知之者不如好之者，好之者不如乐之者 means that the light. See, we can rise above the darkness.
Good.
And which means somebody who knows it, it's less than somebody who wants it. And somebody who wants it is less than the people who's passionate about it. When you have a passion, they can, it's a desire, it's a fire inside of you. You wouldn't think about anything else. You wake up, you just want to get that thing done. And when you're passionate and focused on one thing, I think the finance will come along. When you're so good with something. I know professional writing, I'm trying to get into there now because I was a software engineer for 20-some years. Because of the reason you just mentioned, I was raising my daughter. I have my personal responsibilities to raise a kid alone. So I have to compromise to make money to survive. But as soon as my daughter went out, she's very independent. I said, this is another thing, you set a good example for your next generation, for that person to be independent, and then you can pursue whatever you want. So I'm not saying go do something crazy without thinking about money. You do have to think about it. But passion is something will stay with you forever.
Thank you for that insightful answer. So next, do you have any activities or like works planned for the future?
A ton. Like every day it's a lot. I can't handle it anymore. Like today I walked in on time, okay, just to let you know. I'm trying to, I'm inviting, actually in July, I'm hosting another workshop for youth that, the Rotary Poetry Contest, contest, I had 13 winners. I was the final judge. And I will invite all the winners to read, and also the art wall. I was crying. Beautiful poems, including Leanne. It's very touching, inspirational. And also, I might invite a couple other prestigious young poets to join me this month. And another thing is, I have all the plans to collect all these poems into an anthology, and I'm working on it. That's just and the other poetry workshop is still going on, while I have all the plans for the city. But right now, because we haven't made final decisions yet, but it's all good things, it's all good. And it's very, very delightful to see youth to be interested in writing and humanity. And I thank you very much. And I will get, if you permit, I'll get all your emails and I'll send invitation for the July's event, okay?
Okay, thank you. That sounds very exciting. We look forward to it. So today, Miss Yang talked to us about how she got into poetry and what she does as a poet laureate, as well as some programs that she's going to organize. Thank you for watching, and thank you so much for joining us here today.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.